evening, and welcome to Spooky Stitches, the podcast that is 50% wool and 50% ectoplasm. My name is Shayna Perrell. I'm the author of 10 books and a knitwear designer, and you can find links to all of my work as well as the different chapters for this episode down below. If you follow me on social media, then you probably know that we have another member of our household. Grimalkin is a stray who was hanging out around our apartment for about a month, and we finally caught him a couple weeks ago. He's about 3 years old, probably some flavor of Maine Coon mix because he's huge, and he was sent to us by Loki. We really don't have any other explanation. So Loki was a mini Maine Coon that we adopted almost 10 years ago now, and he had some serious trauma. He hated hands. He'd been mishandled as a young kitten. He was bottle fed. He did not like to be held. He did not want to be picked up. He didn't want you to pet him. And he had issues with other cats. Like, he loved Hermes, but he hated all other cats. And he died very suddenly when he was 5. I'll put a link to a blog post about his story down below that explains it a little bit more. But the cat balance has been off in our place ever since. Hermes never got along with another cat the way that he did with Loki. And since Grim showed up, we've had peace in our house for the first time in years. He is teaching Gwyd the squid, who is not a real cat but a trash panda, how to speak cat. So Gwyd is getting along better with everybody. He is playing with Morrigan and Bast. He knows how to play with them. He's very gentle about it. He hasn't been bothering Hermes, and the balance has finally returned. So we were not looking for a 5th cat. We had no intention of keeping a 5th cat, but it happened. And we're really glad because, like I said, Grim is 3 years old, and we lost Loki at the very beginning of 2019. And it just feels like he is almost Loki reincarnated, but without his kittenhood drama. So it's almost like we get a second chance with him. He is currently 14 pounds, and he's still very skinny. When we found him, he was skin and bone, and he was 12 pounds. I'm not sure where he has hidden those 2 pounds because he's still very skinny. But he's, like I said, probably related to the Maine Coon family. So he's a big boy. He's a mackerel tabby. I shared photos with you at the end of the last episode. I will put a couple more in at the end of this episode. But he is just super chill. He's very polite and sweet. And there haven't been any territorial spats. Like, no one is mad that he is here. We have never had a cat introduction go this well, ever. He fits, so he's staying. But anyway, we are very happy to have him. He just got neutered a couple days ago. Also, thank you to Bua/Juanita, who helped us out with his neuter costs. We ended up in a bit of a tight space this week because my brain malfunctioned and I thought April had an extra week in it. But we're just very happy that he's here. Anyway, that is the big news from Shay Not Magic. 14-pound bundle of news. But I do have a couple of reminders and some other smaller news bits to go over with you. The NaNoWriMo workbook will be available for $1.99 in the Gumroad shop starting on May 30th. This is a printable PDF that will help you hit your NaNoWriMo goals and make the most out of your 50,000 words. Unfortunately, Gumroad has done away with the pre-order option, so I'll just have to remind you as we get closer to the release date. But like I said, that will be up. That's a Gumroad only release. I don't know why I'm losing my voice. I'm going to blame it on allergies because everything is blooming outside and my sinuses hate it. Okay, and then the last one is July 5th marks the release of the final A.J. Marshall book, which I can now tell you is called Magic in Midtown. Thank you to all of the patrons who voted on the title. If you want to read about a legally blind journalist struggling to make it in the cutthroat world of newspaper in the gangsters and magic in the 1920s, then you can pick up her first book, Magic in the Headlines, for pay what you can pricing on Gumroad or on Amazon. Magic in Midtown will be available on Kindle and Amazon and whatever ebook format that you prefer. It'll be up on Gumroad. It's currently up for pre-order in the Amazon shop, ebook only. I'm still debating about when I'm going to bring paperbacks back into stock. All of my backlist is available in paperback, but the H.A. Marshall series is just ebook because typically outside of conventions, paperbacks don't sell for me. So depending on the sales and how things go, I might release it in a paperback at a later date. I don't have any finished objects this week for two reasons. First of all, the projects I'm working on right now are just bigger and more intensive than usual, and they're just taking longer to complete. Secondly, my wrist has been bothering me a lot. I had to cut back on knitting and completely stop crocheting. I had to swap out my mouse and keyboard at work because they were the really low, flat, portable type of mouse and keyboard, and they just were not supportive enough for my hands and wrists. So I am feeling a lot better and I have picked up my knitting again, but I basically had to stop knitting completely for 2.5 weeks. In the meantime, I'm using my knitting time judiciously, and I've mostly been focusing on two projects. So the first one I picked because it's easier on my hands. As some of you might have noticed in the knitting B-roll that I do at the end of a video, I don't actually turn my work to purl. I do what's called knitting backwards, and it's basically I knit continental with my right hand across in one direction, and then I use my left hand to kind of throw and do a modified English style going the opposite direction. So it takes the strain off my right hand because I'm only using it half as much, and I'm also not purling, which is one of the movements that is really hard on my wrist. So this one has been very beneficial. It's also on the largest needle that I'm using right now. And that's the back. This is the front panel of the By Pride sweater. It doesn't look like anything interesting right now. It's probably going to be a while before it does look like something interesting. But that is a thank you present for one of our friends who helped us move. This is Moda Day bamboo wool. It's a worsted weight. The color is boysenberry and it is discontinued, but I got 20 balls of this in a D-stash ages ago and just haven't known what to do with it. And then this project showed up, so it's been perfect. I'm getting to finally use it up. So that yarn is 55% bamboo, it's 55% rayon. It has a really nice sheen to it, though the camera's not really picking it up right now. And it's also very soft with good stitch definition, which is why I picked it for this project. And usually, like, plant fibers don't have as much elasticity to them, so they would be harder for me to knit with my wrist. But this one, because it's a wool blend, it's actually got some really nice elasticity to it, and it's really pleasant to work with. The pattern is not a real pattern. I'm basing it on the Everett Street hoodie by Sierra Morningstar, but when I looked at the pattern, I just didn't really like the bottom up construction. So I'm doing a top down version that I'm making up as I go along. I'm basically just recreating it from the photo because that is what I do. I look at photos and ignore patterns. That's how I've always done things, because when you have been extremely poor, like I have, you don't want to spend $7 on a knitting pattern if you can figure out how to do it yourself. Like yarn, yeah, you have to buy yarn if you want to knit, but patterns are kind of optional. So I got really good at reverse engineering stuff a long time ago, and that's how I started designing. So that's what I'm doing for basically all of my patterns, is I'm reverse engineering something. And as a prime example, we have the Eleonora stockings. These are the worst possible thing that I could be working on with my wrist sore, but I had an article due on May 1st. It goes live on the 25th. This is, again, part of my series for piecework, which is going to be 5 more parts, all about the project and the history around it. So I did want to make sure that I had some visible progress for the photos that accompany the article. So I knit probably from here up. And I need to not do that again, because that's part of the reason why my wrist got so bad. So, I mean, this is in the round. It's tiny needles. I have to purl for it. It is all the things that aggravate my carpal tunnel. So, I'm setting that aside for a couple of days, and then I'm going to try and work on it at least 2 to 3 days a week, just for short bursts. That way I can still get the progress in, but I won't be injuring myself in the process. My next article isn't due until July 1st, so I have some time. But like I said, the article that was just due, that I just turned in, goes live on May 25th. You can check it out on the Piecework website, and it will be shared on Twitter and probably Instagram as well. And then, because I can't be stopped, because I make poor decisions, and because my bin of scrap yarn was mocking me, I cast on another pair of socks. These are for me, and they are just scrap socks. Don't ask me what yarns they are, because I don't know. I thought for a hot second that this was Knit Picks Comfy, but I was wrong. It's got some kind of wool content in it, so I'm not sure what that was. These kind of like blue, greeny, white stripes here. These are the Purple Lamb that I was using back on like episode 1 for the blue and green socks. This is just the leftover ball. And then this is the other yarn that I'm using for the foot and leg. And this, I think this might be Bad Wolf Girl yarns. I could be wrong about that. I'm not positive. I was not expecting them to look so good striped together, but they look awesome. So I'm going with it. These are probably just going to be like shorty socks, but I wanted to work on socks, and I wanted to make something for myself. because the pattern for the vest that I'm working on, again, that's one that I'm reverse engineering because I like to make things difficult for myself. It's just, it involves a lot of counting and I have to really pay attention to it. And I just have not been in the mood to do that. If you've noticed my lack of posting on Ravelry lately, it's because my day job is kicking my butt and I don't have as much time for social media, and which I really hate. I really love being on Ravelry and on Twitter and everything, and I just have not had the time to do all of that. But that is what I've been working on, and I think that it's time for our next segment. So I have been in a reading slump for about 2 years, pretty much since the pandemic started, and it's not going away. I have started recently being able to listen to audiobooks again, but it's still very difficult for me to read anything. It's harder for me to follow along with audiobooks. I have to listen to them at a slower speed than I usually do. I just finished The Turn of the Screw, which is a novella-length work by Henry James. It's the basis for The Haunting at Bly Manor, if you've seen that on Netflix. I wasn't thrilled with it, and after reading the book and seeing 2 different television adaptations, I don't get it. I think it's gone over my head. I don't understand the ending. Not a fan. Like, I love everything up to the ending. And then it just falls apart for me because I don't understand it. I'm also still slowly pecking away at Votes for Women by Winifred Conkling. It is really interesting. It's just, like I said, I am really struggling to physically read anything right now. It's just so annoying because I really love to read and I miss reading, and I just cannot get my brain to go back into that space. I also thought that I lost my paperback copy of Talking to the Dead a month ago when I was at the doctor's office. And then I found it in my nightstand where I looked like 4 times for it. But I did finally get it back. I sat down and I have read about 10 more pages on it. So I'm not getting too far, but I'm pecking away at it, just like everything else. And this is a biography of the Fox sisters and the start of spiritualism in the 1840s, not 1940s, which I am really enjoying. But again, it's just really hard for me to physically sit down and read anything. I also started Well Met by Jen DeLuca because apparently starting stuff is what I want to do right now and not finishing stuff. To be fair, I started that when I thought I had lost my other paperback, because this is also a paperback. And Jen DeLuca, I have been wanting to read her work for ages because she is a friend of a friend. And I'm only like 10 pages into the book. I haven't been able to form an opinion of it, but it's a rom-com set in a Renaissance fair. I am here for it. I'm not a big romance reader, but I do love a good rom-com. I also picked up The Good Witch on Netflix, so what I'm watching right now. And I tend to binge and then ignore this series. It's very light and sweet. It's got a little bit of mystery, a little bit of magic, but I have to be in the right mood for it because it's really hard to suspend your disbelief. Like, everybody is just too nice and too perfect, and it's really unrealistic in that way. But I needed something a little bit lighter after The Witcher, especially because I could not find any other series that involved Henry Cavill in tight pants. I was not sold on the first season of The Witcher, but the second season, oh my god. I am so mad because I hate it when series do this. It took so long to get through the first 8 episodes of this jumbled up backstory that's all these different timelines. And then you get into the second season where everything's cohesive and flows together, and it was so freaking good. And then it ended. It's not so much that it bothered me that it was more of a slow burn at the beginning, but I needed something to hang on to, and I could not follow the different timelines, especially because I did not play the games. I came into this as someone who likes fantasy, and I'm not a big gamer, so I actually just DNF'd a book because it did a similar sort of thing where at the beginning it would have like bursts of excitement, and then it was literally so boring it was putting me to sleep, and I couldn't finish the book. I got to the 30% marker. That is my cutoff, and if I'm not into it, I return it to the library because I'm mostly reading library books right now. But anyway, if you have also come down off of The Witcher high, tell me what to watch next, preferably something that involves tight pants and a Henry Cavill look-like. I'm also working my way through Medici still. I recently went back to that one after forgetting that it was there. And I am really enjoying it. I'm like halfway through season 3 maybe, and really enjoying it. I am going to be posting a review of Medici over on the Eleonora Project blog, since it is kind of tangentially related. I don't have any knit tea or any spooky tales this week. I just have not been able to put anything together. I was going to do knit tea, and I didn't really find anything all that newsworthy online this week, but I haven't had a whole lot of time to look. Anyway, as we wrap up for the evening, I do just want to let you guys know that this might be the last episode for a while. I have family coming to visit at the end of May, and I don't know if I will be able to get a second podcast out before then. So just so you know, if you don't see me between now and then, I will be back in June. And if not, either way, I hope that you are all healthy and safe, and that you have something cute and fluffy to cuddle with. Ciao.